Yeah, so we have almost discussed about the concept of business environment in the previous classes, the types of environment which we need to study. So all those things we have already discussed in our previous classes. In today's class, we'll be starting our next block, that is economic planning of India. We'll be starting with that. So for yeah. Let me first begin with the history of economic planning of India. Well, economic planning of India became a part of Indian political system much before the introduction of the first five-year plan. Uh, the book Planned Economy of India, written by M. Vishweshwara, is somewhat a theoretical development towards economic planning. In this book, he published his own suggestions for a 10-year plan for India. So that was the initial thing. Then economic planning became part of Indian political system much before the introduction of first five-year plan. So under the plan, he proposed to double the income of the country within first 10 years. Then there were many other pre-independence plans or proposal as well. Let us see one by one. The first one was FICCI proposal, that is FICCI. So in 1934, the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, that is FICCI, recommended the need for national planning for economic development. NR Sarkar, the then president of FICCI, called for a high-powered national planning commission to coordinate the whole process of planning, so that the country could make a structural break with its past and achieve its full growth potential. Next was the Bombay Plan, which was formulated in the year 1944. Well, in this plan, it was formulated by eight leading Indian industrialists with the basic aim of economic development under a considerable amount of government intervention. The title of the plan was A Plan for Economic Development of India. The basic objectives were a doubling of the output of the agricultural produce and rapid industrialization with emphasis on the development of capital goods and core industries over 15 years. Well, the title of the plan was A Plan for Economic Development of India. The basic objectives were, we have already discussed, that it was doubling the income. The next plan was the Gandhian plan. It was introduced in the year 1944 by Shriman Narayan Agarwal with basic elements such as protectionism, nationalism, and adherence to the principles of non-violence and a rejection of class struggle in favor of socio-economic harmony. It was known as Gandhian plan as it was based upon the Gandhian philosophy. It rejected the concept of human being as a rational actor, always seeking to maximize material self-interest. It laid more emphasis on agriculture and small-scale industries with self-sufficient villages and industrial production. The next plan was the People's Plan. It was formulated by M.N. Roy in 1945, who was the then chairman of Post-War Reconstruction Committee of the Indian Trade. It differed from the Bombay Plan in methodology and priorities. Its main emphasis was on agricultural and consumer goods industries through collectivizations and setting up of state-owned industrialization. It also advocated the nationalization of land. Next plan was the Sarvodaya Plan. It was published in the year 1950 by Jai Prakash Narayan in form of a document called Sarvodaya Plan. It aimed at economic, political, social, and overall development of the common masses. It drew its major inspiration from the Gandhian plan. Self-reliance and almost no dependence on foreign capital and technology, self-dependent villages, and decentralized participatory form of planning and economic progress was forwarded by this plan. Now, let us discuss about the needs of economic planning in India. So, the very first need is to increase the rate of economic development. That was the very basic need of having the economic planning in India, that to increase the rate of economic development. Second one was to eradicate unemployment. Then to improve and strengthen market mechanism and fair progress of the economy. Now let's discuss about the objectives of economic planning of India. What were the objectives? Well, Indian planning ever since its inception has attempted to meet the following objectives. First one was to securing an increase in national income, then accelerated the plan rate of investment to enhance the proportion of actual investment to national income. Then mitigation the inequality of income and wealth and regulating the concentration of economic power. Next was to increasing the quantum of employment for the maximum possible utilization of manpower. Then development in agricultural, industrial, and other sectors, and is striving to achieve intersectoral development. Speeding up the development of relatively backward regions and promoting balanced regional development. Next was reducing in a progressive manner incidence of poverty by providing food, work, and productivity to the people below the poverty line. Now we'll discuss about the types of planning we have in economic planning. The first type of plan is indicative planning. In indicative planning, we'll see, well, it was adopted by India in the eighth five-year plan, which was driven by liberalization of the economy. In it, a state would run into facilitator from that of a controller and regulator. Next was financial planning. In it, physical targets are set in line with the available physical resources, mobilization, and setting an expenditure pattern of financial resources is the focus in this type of planning, the second type. Next was the centralized planning. In it, centralized authority plans and formulates all planning activities in the country. Next, the fourth plan was decentralized planning. In it, the plans are prepared and executed at the grassroots level. Now we'll discuss about the planning in post-independence India. Well, after independence, the task of planning was done by Planning Commission of India. It was a non-constitutional, non-statutory body set up by resolution of the government in 1950. However, in 2015, it was replaced by Niti Aayog. Well, Planning Commission's basic objective was to get decent rate of growth and growth of infrastructure, also development of basic and capital goods industries, self-sufficiency in food production, rise of service sector, What were the failures of this plan was basically there was inadequate growth rate, land reforms failure was there, and economic inequality and social injustice, unemployment, regional imbalances, and policy fatigue. Now we'll talk about Niti Aayog. Well, the National Institute of Transforming India, that is Niti Aayog, is a policy think tank of Government of India. It was established in 2015 to replace the Planning Commission, which followed by the top-down model. There are few models which need to be discussed, quite important from point of view of economic planning of India. The first model is Harold Gomar growth model. Well, this model emphasizes on the importance of saving and investment in economic development in developing and underdeveloped countries. Well, this model was developed by Roy F. Harold in 1939 and F. C. Domar in 1946. This model implies that economic growth depends on investment and savings. There should be policies to increase savings. The investment should be used more efficiently through technological advances. Then we have PC Mahalanobis model. It is also known as Fidmel-Manahalis model. It was developed independently by Soviet economist Grigory Feldman in 1928 and Indian statistician Prashanta Chandra in 1953. This model became the basis of India's second five-year plan. The essence of the model is a shift in the pattern of industrial investment towards building up a domestic consumption goods sector. This model suggested that in order to reach a high standard in consumption, investment in building a capacity in the production of capital goods is firstly needed. In the long run, investment made in the country's capital good sector will lead to an increase in the production capacity of consumer goods. Next model is Lewis growth model. Give me a moment, please. Just a minute. Yeah, we were at Lewis growth model. Well, this model became the guide for the development process in labor surplus countries during the 1960s and 1970s. Lewis' theory of economic development speaks of structural changes in the economy. It basically describes a pathway whereby a developing economy can foster the growth of a new capitalist sector, which can employ a growing share of the excess capital available from the subsistence sector. Over time, this capitalist sector can come to eclipse the subsistence sector, causing the overall economy to grow. So these were the basic of economic planning of India, its needs, objectives, and few models. So when a basic questions come on economic planning of India, these things could be discussed over there. Now, according to the syllabus, the topic which we will discuss now is factors contributing to the adoption of planning for development. Well, economic planning in India emerged as a response to the significant challenges the country faced post independence. Following centuries of colonial rule, India inherited a struggling economy characterized by widespread poverty, illiteracy, and underdevelopment. The need for rapid socio-economic transformation was very evident. So, prompting policymakers to embrace the idea of economic planning was needed. Well, the adoption of economic planning in India was influenced by various factors. Firstly, the experience of colonial exploitation highlighted the importance of self reliance and ingenious development strategies. Secondly, the prevailing global geopolitical landscape, marked by the Cold War rivalry between the US and the Soviet Union, led many newly independent nations, including India, to adopt socialist ideologies and centralized planning models as a means of achieving economic independence as well as social justice. Furthermore, the examples set by other countries, particularly the Soviet Union's rapid industrialization under a centralized planning system, served as an inspiration for Indian policymakers. The desire to evaluate such successes, coupled with the urgency to address pressing socio-economic challenges, propelled India towards the path of economic planning. So, these were the factors which contributed to the adoption of planning for development. We have discussed like various things, various factors which are contributing. The first factor was the colonial exploitation. Then there was a Cold War rivalry between US and Soviet Union. Also, there were many newly independent nations like India to adopt socialist ideologies and centralized planning models as a mean of achieving economic independence and social justice. So these are the basic factors which are contributing to the adoption of planning for development. Then again, we have over here meaning and need for planning in India. Well, economic planning in India refers to a systematic and comprehensive approach to allocate resources, set targets, and formulate policies aimed at achieving specific development objectives within a predetermined time frame. So that is the, you can say, meaning of economic planning. Also, it involves the coordinated efforts of the government. Then we have private sectors and also other stakeholders to optimize a resource utilization and also promote inclusive growth. That means all the growth of all the stakeholders. Well, the need for planning in India stems from the complex socio-economic realities of the country. India's vast population, diverse geopolitical features, and uneven distribution of resources necessitate careful planning to ensure equitable development across regions and sectors. Planning serves as a tool to address structural imbalances, alleviate poverty, reduce unemployment, and bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. Moreover, Planning provides a framework for fostering sustainable development by promoting investment
Uh,
in critical sectors such as agriculture, industry, infrastructure, education, and healthcare. It helps in channeling resources towards priority areas, fostering innovation and enhancing productivity, thereby laying the foundation for long-term economic growth and social progress. Now we have successive 5 years and annual plans with us. Well, in the booklet provided to you, all the 5 year plans are given. So I request you all to go through all the 5 year plans and the details given over there. I'll just give you the brief of all the plans and the annual plan. Well, the introduction of the 5 year plans in India in 1951 marked a significant milestone in the country's journey towards planned development. These plans, formulated by the Planning Commission, which was later replaced by Niti Aayog, I just now told you, outlined specific objectives, targets, and strategies for achieving socio-economic progress over a 5 year period. Well, each plan focused on addressing key developmental challenges and harnessing opportunities for growth. 5 year plans were complemented by annual plans, which provided flexibility to respond to emergent issues and changing priorities. Together, these plans exercises formed the backbone of the India's development strategy, guiding resource allocation, policy formulation, and implementation efforts. Well, over the years, successive 5 year plans evolved to reflect changing priorities and emerging challenges. While early plan emphasized agricultural development and industrialization, later plans placed greater emphasis on social welfare, then poverty alleviation, and infrastructure development as well. Despite variation in focus and objectives, the overarching goal of all plans remain consistent. That is to promote inclusive and sustainable development. So that is the basic objective of all the 5 year plans and the annual plan. Well, we have, in all 5 year plan, when we monitor these plans closely, we get to know the basic aim, the basic agenda of these plan is basically to promote inclusive and sustainable development. So that was the brief of these 5 year plans and the annual plan. You please go through your booklets while studying these five successive 5 year plans and the annual plan. It is written very nicely. All the information is there. So I request you all to go through the booklets and read the 5 year plans from there. Well, coming to the next thing, that is socio-economic objectives of planning in India. The socio-economic objectives of planning in India are rooted in the principles of social justice, then equality, and also inclusive growth. Well, these objectives guide policy formulation and resource allocation efforts to ensure that the benefits of development reach all sections of society, especially the marginalized as well as the disadvantaged ones. Next was eradication of poverty and unemployment. Is one of the primary objective of planning in India through targeted interventions such as unemployment generation in schemes, poverty alleviation programs, and social safety needs. Planners seek to uplift the living standard of the poor and create opportunities for sustainable livelihoods. Another key objective is the promotion of social justice and equality. Planning initiatives aims to reduce disparities based on factors such as income, gender, caste, and religion. By expanding access to education, healthcare, housing, and other essential services. Initiatives such as affirmative action policies, land reforms, and reservation quotas seeks to empower marginalized community and also promote social inclusion. Well, infrastructure development is also a crucial objective of planning in India. Investment in transportation, energy, communication, and urban infrastructure are essential for fostering economic growth, enhancing productivity, and improving the quality of life. By building robust infrastructure networks, planners aim to create an enabling environment for business development, job creation, and overall socio-economic progress. So this was about socio-economic objectives of planning in India. Okay. Well, the next topic is priorities and outlays of successive five-year plan. Please give me a break of for 2 minutes. I'll be back in 2 minutes and resume the class for priorities and outlays of successive five-year plans. Sorry, my apologies. Yeah, the next topic is priorities and outlays of successive 5-year plans. Well, each 5-year plan in India identified specific priority areas and allocated financial resources accordingly. These priorities were determined based on the prevailing development challenges, policy objectives, and long term vision of the country's progress. So, as we have discussed previously as well, uh, like what was the need of the 5-year plan and why the next 5-year plans are being formulated? Well, basically, it was to identify the priorities areas which was important for economic development of India. And based on these needs only, the financial resources are being allocated. Also, on the basis of the prevailing developmental challenges and the policy objectives, these long-term vision of the country's progress, these priorities were determined. Well, in the earlier days of planning, priority was given to agriculture and the rural development, recognizing the sector's significance in ensuring food security, alleviating poverty, and stimulating industrial growth. Subsequent plans expanded the scope to include industrialization, then infrastructure development, and human capital formalization. Also, when we talk about allocation of financial outlays for different sectors, well, it reflected the government's commitment to addressing critical developmental needs. Let's take an example like investment in agriculture were aimed at increasing agriculture productivity, modernizing farming practices, and improving rural infrastructure. Similarly, investment in industry focused on promoting industrial growth, fostering technological innovations, and enhancing competitiveness in domestic and global markets. Well, in addition, successive 5-year plans allocated resources for social welfare programs as well. Also for education, healthcare, and environmental conservation to address social inequalities and promote a sustainable development. The allocation of funds were guided by the principle of balanced regional development and ensuring that resources were distributed equal across states and regions to reduce any disparities and promote the inclusive growth. The next thing, so that was the priorities and outlays of successive 5-year plans. Now, the next topic which we will discuss is economic growth record during the planning era. Well, the planning era in India witnessed significant achievements in terms of economic growth and development. Despite facing numerous challenges like, let's say, resource constraints were there, population pressure, even now we have it, and external shocks. Well, India's economy registered impressive growth rates over the decades. During the initial years of planning, the focus on agriculture development and industrialization laid the foundation for sustained economic growth. Agricultural reforms were there, such as land redistribution, then irrigation expansion, and technological advancement led to increased agricultural productivity and food grain production, thereby ensuring food security and reducing the rural poverty. Also, industrialization efforts supported by public sector investment and import substitution policies, they all contributed to the growth of manufacturing industries and the expansion of infrastructure networks. The establishment of steel plants, power plants, and heavy machinery industries helped in building a strong industrial base and also helped in reducing dependence on imports. So, as a result of these initiatives, India's GDPs grew steadily and per capita income increased, improving living standard and reducing poverty levels. The planning era also witnessed improvement in social indicators. Let's say social indicators are the literacy rate, then we have life expectancy and infant mortality rate. So these things reflecting the success of targeted intervention in education, healthcare, as well as in social welfare. So these were the economic growth recorded during the planning era. Yeah, so we have discussed about the growth record during the planning era. Next topic is factors responsible for periodic setbacks during the planning era. Well, mm, yeah, okay. So we'll discuss now about the factors responsible for periodic setback during the planning era. Why these plans were unsuccessful and now why these plans do not exist. So, despite the overall success of economic planning in India, the country experienced periodic setbacks and challenges along the way. Well, various factors contributed to these setbacks, undermining the effectiveness of planning and hindering the pace of development. Well, the very first challenge or factor which was responsible for the setback was bureaucratic inefficiency and administrative hurdles. Well, that often impeded the implementation of planned initiatives. Inefficient allocation of resources, then delayed in project execution and bureaucratic red tape slowed down the pace of development and hampered the achievement of targets set out in the 5-year plan. So that was the primary challenge, we can say, which has hindered or which was responsible for the setback of this planning era. So that was periodic inefficiency and administrative hurdles. Next, there was corruption and leakages in public distribution system. Even now it exists. Well, these were another significant challenge during the planning era. Well, a leakage of funds, diversion of resources, and rent-seeking behavior undermined the effectiveness of developmental programs and deprived intended beneficiary of the benefit. So that was the second factor, that is corruption and leakages in the public distribution sector. Then we have some external factors which was not under control. These are global economic turndowns were there, geopolitical tensions and adverse weather conditions also posed challenges to India's development efforts. External shocks such as oil price spikes or trade disruptions adversely impacted the economy, leading to fluctuation in growth rates and disrupting planned initiatives. Moreover, internal socio-political factors, including regional disparities, then ethnic conflicts, and social unrest, occasionally derailed development programs and impeded the progress of these plans. Lack of consensus among political parties and vested interest often lead to policy paralysis and delayed decision making, further complicating the implementation of planned initiatives. So these are the basic factors responsible for the setbacks. What are they? Quickly memorize them. Bureaucratic inefficiency, the first one, and administrative hurdles. Then we have corruption and leakages. Also, there were some external factors like geopolitical tensions, then weather condition, then global economic conditions. Then we have external shocks such as there were oil price spikes or trade disruptions. Also, there were internal socio-political factors were also there, where there was regional disparities were there, then ethnic conflict and social unrest. So all these factors were responsible for the periodic setback during the planning era, right? So that was about the factors. Now, the next thing we'll discuss about the new economic policy 1991 and the future of planning in India. Well, again, I'm saying these topics are very well written in your books provided by the university. So kindly go through all these topics of 5 year successive 5 year plans and new economic policy and future planning in India. I'll be just discussing about very briefly, I'll be discussing about all these topics. So please go through those notes. Other than that, the things which I'm discussing, I'll provide the notes. So coming back to new economic policy 1991 and the future of planning in India. Well, the new economic policy, also known as NEP, of 1991 marked a significant turning point in India's economic history and has very profound implications for the future of economic planning in the country. In response to a several balance of payment crisis and mounting fiscal pressures, the government embarked on a comprehensive program of economic reforms aimed at liberalizing the economy, deregulating markets, and integrating India into the global economy. The NEP introduced a shift in economic policy moving away from the traditional model of state-led plannings and towards a more market-oriented approach. Key elements of the reform package included dismantling trade barriers, privatizing state-owned enterprises, then liberalizing foreign investment rules, and deregulating various sectors of the economy. Then the adoption of neoliberal economic policy under the NEP signaled a departure from the centrally planned development model and raised question about the relevance and future of economic planning in India. Critics argued that liberalization and globalization would render centralized planning obsolete by allowing market forces to determine resource allocation as well as investment decisions, right? However, the proponents of planning maintain that while the role of the state in economic management might change, the need for strategic planning and intervention is very critical areas like for infrastructure or education or social welfare. So that would remain relevant. So they emphasized the importance of integrating planning with market mechanism to achieve balanced as well as inclusive growth while harnessing the benefits of globalization. Well, the NEP of 1991 represented a shift towards market-oriented policies, and future of economic planning remains a subject of debate. The country continued to grapple with complex developmental challenges, including poverty, inequality, and environmental degradation, which necessitate a coordinated and holistic approach to development. As India strives to achieve its vision of inclusive and sustainable growth, the role of economic planning will likely evolve to adapt to changing realities and emerging priorities. Well, that was all about economic planning in India. Yes, ma'am, please send me before classes PPT. I'm not sharing any PPTs, Venkat Venkatakrishna. I'm sorry, I'm not sharing any PPT. I'm sharing notes. I'll just note down your email ID with me so that just give me a moment, please. Yeah, Venkata Krishna. Give me a moment. I'll just note down your email ID. Yeah. So after after every alternate class, I am sharing notes with the students who are providing me with their email addresses. I also got your email address, Krishna. So excuse me. So after the classes, like tomorrow, whatever we have discussed till now, I'll be sharing. I'll share again, no issues. I'll share all the notes which we have studied till now along with the question paper. One previous year paper I have for January 2024 paper with me. So I'll be sharing notes and those things. So there is nothing in my PPT. It's just the your syllabus is written in my PPT. So the study notes or the reference note I'll provide after the class, after every alternate class, right? Okay, ma'am. Thank you. You're welcome. Any other doubts in economic planning of India, which we have discussed now? I'll give a minute time to you all. If any doubt is there regarding whatever we have discussed till now, you can put your doubt in the chat box. So then after that, we'll be starting our unit 8, that is structural dimensions of Indian economy. We'll try completing that unit as well in today's class. So I'll giving you a few minutes time so that you can go through the things which we have discussed now. You all are having the study material. Please go through economic planning in India. If any doubts are there, please put in the chat box. I'm just here only, right? Yeah. So no doubts, nothing. We can start the next unit. Yeah. The next topic is structural dimension of Indian economy. Well, in this unit, we'll be discussing about India's growth and development. Well, India's growth and development experience is there. Then we have important structural changes in the economy. Also, the trends in components, trends and components in India's saving and investment. Then trends in monetary factors, price level. Also, other relevant dimensions such as demographic infrastructure, technology, and environmental sustainability as are there. Other than that, population and other demographic trends and structure we'll be discussing in this unit. So let's start with India's economic growth and development experience. Well, India's economic growth and development experience have undergone significant transformations since independence 1947. Well, initially characterized by a slow-paced economy, India embarked on a path of planned development with the adoption of five-year plans. So, what was the very first development experience India has experienced? That after the adoption of five-year plans, there was very steady growth in the economy. So, also India was on the path of planned development. So, what was the reason? Was these adoption of five-year plans? Well, over the decades, India has achieved a notable progress in various sectors, including agriculture, then industry, services, and social development indicators such as education and healthcare. However, the pace and pattern of growth has been uneven across regions and sectors, leading to persistent disparities. Well, the liberalization reforms of 1991 marked a turning point in India's economic trajectory, ushering in an era of a rapid growth, globalization, and market oriented policies. India emerged as one of the fastest growing major economies in the world, and a dynamic entrepreneurial ecosystem. Well, there are various important structural changes in the economy based on the trends and components of India's saving and investment. Well, when we talk about trends and components of India's saving and investment, well, India's saving and investment pattern have undergone significant changes over time. Um, let's talk about savings. Well, savings are primarily composed of basically prime household savings, then we have corporate savings and public sector savings. Investment, on the other hand, comprises private investment were there, public investment, and foreign direct investment, that is FDI. The shift towards a higher investment rate has been crucial for sustaining economic development, growth, and infrastructure development as well. Government policies aimed at promoting savings and investments, such as tax incentives, subsidies, and infrastructure development initiatives that have played a very important role in shaping the saving investment dynamics in India. Now, the next trend was a trend in monetary factors, price and price level. Well, monetary factors including money supply, credit availability, interest rates, and inflation, these things exert a significant influence on India's economic performance. The Reserve Bank of India plays a central role in regulating monetary policy to ensure price stability and sustainable economic growth. Inflationary pressures are driven by factors such as food prices, energy cost, and global commodity prices have been persistent challenge for India. The RBI employs various monetary tools such as open market operations are there, then repo rates were introduced, also reserve requirements to manage inflation and stabilize the pricing level. Now the next one is the other relevant structural dimensions. Well, structural dimensions of Indian economy encompass a wide range of factors, including demographic trends, infrastructure development, technology adoption, and environmental sustainability. Talking about demographic trends, demographic trends such as population growth, age structure, urbanization, and labor force participation rates shape the socio-economic landscape of India. The country's youthful population present both opportunities as well as challenges for economic development, necessitating investment in education, skill development, and job creations. The next dimension is infrastructure development. Well, it includes transportation networks, energy systems, telecommunication, and urban infrastructure is essential for supporting economic activities and improving the quality of life as well. India's infrastructure deficit poses constraint on economic growth and requires substantial investment and policy reforms. Now, the next dimension is technology adoption, I would say, and innovations. Well, these are critical drivers of economic growth and competitiveness. India's IT industries and advancement in areas such as digitalization, AI, and renewable energy offer opportunities for leapfrogging and sustainable development. Next is environmental sustainability. Well, environmental sustainability is an increasingly important consideration in India's development trajectory. The country faced challenges such as pollution, resource depletion is happening, climate change, and biodiversity loss is there. Well, these things necessitate integrated policy approaches and investment in green technologies as well as sustainable practices. Well, these are the other relevant structural dimensions, or you can say the structural changes in the Indian economy, right? Now, the next and the last topic under structural dimension we have population and other demographic trends and structure. Well, India's population dynamic plays a crucial role in shaping its economic development trajectory. With over a billion people, India is the second most populous country globally, presenting both opportunities and challenges for economic growth. Well, demographic trends such as population growth, age structure, fertility rates, and let's say urbanization, these things influence consumption patterns, labor supply, and social welfare needs. India's youthful population demographics offer a demographic dividend provided adequate investment are made in education, healthcare, as well as in skill development. Well, urbanization is a key demographic trend. The million of people migrated from rural to urban areas in search of better economic opportunities. Urbanization presents challenges such as infrastructure strain, housing shortages, and environmental degradation, necessitating sustainable urban planning as well as developmental strategies. Also, gender dynamics are important aspect of India's demographic structure. Gender disparities in education, employment, and social participation pose challenge to inclusive and sustainable development. Addressing gender inequality and promoting women's empowerment are crucial for harnessing the full potential of India's population. So, these are the demographic trend and structure which affect structural dimension of Indian economy. So, with this, our next unit, that is the structural dimension of Indian economy, is over. If you have any doubts, please ask me. So today we have discussed two units from block 2. These are the structure dimension of Indian economy as well as economic planning of India. Well, if you have any questions regarding economic planning of India and the structure dimension of economy of India, please ask me. Kindly unmute and put your questions in the chat box. We'll be starting next topic in the next class tomorrow. We'll be discussing about privatization as well as sectoral dimension of Indian economy. Other than that, there are other topics as well which we need to cover in the tomorrow's class. Yeah, this sectoral dimension of Indian economy, industry, then privatization, small businesses. So these are the part of block 2. Then we have in block 3 industrial policies. This also will try um covering in tomorrow's class. So for now, if you have any doubts in anything which we have taught in the previous classes as well as in the today class, feel free to ask your question, put in the chat box or unmute and ask your question. I hope you people have received notes which I have sent last weekend. Yeah, great. Amani, uh, kindly use those notes for your reference purpose only. I'm again saying that don't rely on just those notes. Those notes are just for reference purpose only, or you can add up in your answers because those points are not in your study notes. So please study accordingly, right? So I'm here only. If any doubt is there, kindly ask me.
Ma'am, please tell me factors responsible for periodic setbacks during the planning era.
Factors responsible for periodic setbacks in the planning era. The very first factor was bureaucratic inefficiency, which we have discussed, and administrative hurdles were there. That is the first one. Then there was corruption and leakage in public distribution system. Other than that, there were various external factors as well, like global economic turndowns were there, also geopolitical tensions and adverse weather conditions. So these were the, you can say, the factors responsible for periodic setbacks. Well, other than that, these factors, there were some external shocks as well. So these shocks are such as price spikes, price spikes were there. Then trade disruptions. These things have adversely impacted the economy. Then, other than that, there were internal socio-political factors like regional disparities were there, ethnic conflicts, and social unrest. So these were the things which were responsible for the periodic setbacks during the political era, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Yes, Samani, this question assignment one, third question, ma'am. But I written 5-year plans. What was the question? Please unmute and tell me, Amani.
Same question, ma'am. Factors responsible for periodic setbacks during the planning era.
Why you have not asked me? Why you have written the 5-year plans? These factors are not mentioned in your study material.
Yes, ma'am. In study material figure 7.1 is there. That's why I
Hmm.
written 5 years plan.
Why you have written 5 years plan, bete? You should have asked me. I have got one email from one of the students for some question. I believe for this question only. Let me check.
In
Did
study material, this question answer not there, madam. That's why I
okay? You
written.
should have asked me, no? For what purpose I have shared my email ID to you people?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
See, I have got this email from Devi only, one of your classmates. She have asked me the same question. Factors responsible for periodic setbacks during planning era. I have sent the like 4 days back. I have emailed back to her.
I already submitted assignment 1 and 2 also, madam.
When did you submit it?
20th last.
So
Yes,
before 20th
day
only
before
I have
yesterday.
sent that. That
But
why I am telling you people.
Sridevi
Uh,
not ours group, madam. She
Shridevi,
has she
um,
has not their ours number.
so you have my email ID, right, Amani? You have it or not?
Yes, yes, madam.
So you could have
But
directly
one girl
emailed me.
in college, one girl told Tejasri. You remember or not? Tejasri told
Tejasri
in
used to attend offline classes as well, right?
yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. Then what did she told?
She's told 5 years plan. I written 5 years plan.
Why that is wrong? The question is different. The 5-year plan thing is different. So you are
I
PG
already
students, no? This
submitted,
much
madam.
common sense you should have, right? Ki what they are asking, what you are writing. If somebody is writing, so it does not mean na, ki that person is correct.
Mm. Yes, yes.
Yeah, what from since first class I'm sharing my email ID continuously, and those who have asked the people who have emailed me the same day or the other day or night, I have replied them. So next time, please ask me if any doubt is there. Please ask me. I might be late, and before for this like on 18th or 19th, I have replied her back. On 19th, I have replied her back with the same
Okay.
with the answer of this question. Anyways, no problem. When the faculties are sharing their contact details, do उनका फायदा उठाइए, right?
Okay, okay, madam.
Huh? When they are saying ask us why we are here to help you out with all those things, right?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Don't ask
मैम
other
आप उस दिन आया था ना कॉलेज को फिर बाहर जा रहे बोल के नेक्स्ट क्लास लेंगे बोल के उस
हाँ
दिन हम लोग पूरा डिस्कस करा था उस दिन तेजश्री बोला हम लोग ये आंसर लिखा था फाइव
मेरा
इयर्स प्लान बोल
सी माय ईमेल आईडी मैंने तब भी मैं ऑफलाइन क्लासेस में भी मैंने अपना ईमेल आईडी शेयर किया था. व्हाई यू
हाँ
पीपल
हाँ
आर हेजिडेंट कांटेक्ट करने के लिए? मैं
सब
क्यों
लोग
शेयर
वही
कर रही
आंसर
हूँ?
लिखा मैडम उन्होंने जो बोला सब लोग वही
ऐसा
आंसर
क्यों?
लिखा
शी वॉज रेगुलर, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि वो हर चीज ठीक करेंगे ना.
हम्म.
ऐसा नहीं होता ना. तो नेक्स्ट टाइम से बी केयरफुल. नो प्रॉब्लम इफ यू हैव रिटन, नो इश्यूज.
ओके
वो असाइनमेंट पेपर ही है ना आपका,
हाँ हाँ
एग्जाम पेपर नहीं. इट्स ओके, नो प्रॉब्लम विद दैट. But from next time, if not me, I believe all the faculties are sharing their contact details with you people, right? Whether their
ओके
email IDs or their contact numbers. Yes or
हम्म.
no? So do
यस
take
मैम.
care every time because this is your first year, second year also. Do take care. Whatever doubts you are having, please ask the faculties. We are here to help you. Don't be confused. Huh?
ओके मैम.
Right.
थैंक यू मैम.
You're welcome.
मैम
यस।
मैम लास्ट क्लास में इम्पोर्टेंट क्वेश्चंस देते हैं ना आप?
हाँ, मे बी टुमारो
क्योंकि
आफ्टर क्लास ऑल्सो वी विल डिस्कस। तुम कल ऐसा करेंगे, थोड़ा हम ये डिस्कस करेंगे, and after that we'll discuss some exam writing tips as well as important questions। कल ही
ओके।
करेंगे।
हाँ, क्योंकि एग्जाम्स भी अगस्त 9 से ही है ना, इसलिए थोड़ा इम्पोर्टेंट है तो इम्पोर्टेंट इम्पोर्टेंट ही पढ़ लेते उसको।
well, I always say everything is important, but still then आप लोगों की इतना high demand पे we'll discuss important as well।
हाँ हाँ।
But yeah, tomorrow we'll discuss 2-3 units, and then we will discuss about some writing tips and importance as well। Last
ओके
class में
मैम।
भी we'll discuss some, but tomorrow also we'll do।
ओके
Okay,
मैम, थैंक यू मैम।
you're welcome। So that was all for today। We'll meet tomorrow।
ओके।
Okay, bye, take care।
मैं ड्यूटी से आके आपका क्लास ही है बोल के मैं लॉग इन कर दिया मैडम अभी।
Okay,
फोन में
actually
लॉग इन करा, लेकिन कल तो
actually I'm
सिस्टम में
not
लॉग इन
well।
कर दो।
मेरे को आज हाई फीवर है। Just now I have taken medicine। ऐसा ठंडा पट्टी लगा के I am taking class now।
ओके ओके। क्लास
Tomorrow।
में भी अभी कोई भी नहीं है, सुनील बोल के है लेकिन वो लॉग इन करने के लिए नहीं मालूम उनको।
हाँ, ओके
और
ओके, नो
यूट्यूब में देख रहे हो उन्होंने, इसलिए उन्होंने कुछ भी बात नहीं कर सकते।
ओके ओके, फाइन फाइन।
ओके
ठीक
मैडम।
है, ओके फाइन, ठीक है अमन,
थैंक यू।
we'll meet tomorrow।
ओके मैम, थैंक यू।